All right, good morning, YouTube. Look at that sun. Geez, that's something else. Hey, I wanted to cover a video on doing some maintenance on my roll-off trailer. I was just going to do some maintenance, and I found some things that were wrong, and I figured that this would be a good opportunity to, put out some good information. I hope for those people that maybe aren't mechanically inclined on really what to look for when it comes to maintaining your equipment. This is some very specific stuff that you should probably be checking. Okay, I'm gonna flip the camera around here first. Let's talk about some safety. All right, right here on my trailer specifically is this bar that will hold up you can see that. Okay, what that does is that allows to safely get underneath this and grease it. Okay. Now, a couple of things that I noticed when I started really looking at my setup here, I've got a couple of chafing points right here on my hydraulic hoses. Okay. Obviously, that's not good. That's going to cause me some issues. So what you want to do is go through all of these spots like that right there and make sure that you're not chafing. Okay, got some my power lines, okay, that go to my winch. Want to make sure they're not chafing. Check all the way up here, make sure those aren't chafing. Okay, and then let me get in the middle of this thing. Okay, and here's another spot right here I found some chafing. Right here on this frame. Okay, nothing major yet, but what I'm gonna do is get some bigger hose, like some radiator hose, wrap those around it, zip tie it on, kind of gives it a little bit of protection. While we're in here, we're gonna talk about grease points. So this is my main cylinder, okay? There's one grease point. Anywhere that this thing rotates is gonna have a grease point. There's another one up there, kind of right in around there, okay? So we're gonna do those. Back down to the bottom, I got one here, one there I just showed you. Another one on this side, so I'm gonna hit those. Then up on the back, this is the back of the trailer, see? Both sides, I've got a grease point there where it pivots, okay? Now, I typically do not grease my rails. I have to come up with a better way. You see I'm getting some wear right there, both sides. I just don't want to, I don't want to leave grease marks on my customers' driveways. So that's why I kind of do that. Now, let me grab my remote from my winch and I'll show you another thing that I found. I was actually, luckily, dropping a dumpster in my own yard and this happened. So flip this around. All right, on the hook for my winch, everything looks pretty good, right? Except that there's a screw missing. Okay, and what that allows that to do is kick off sideways and allows it to stay open. I actually dropped this dumpster only a couple of feet. It wasn't bad. Hook came unhooked and it slid a little further than I would have liked, that's for sure. But that's another thing you got to check, as well as your cable. I'm not going to check well, I did check my cable. I'm not going to talk too much about that because I'm going to change the cable out here pretty soon. On your winch, make sure you're not getting any corrosion around any of the cables. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to check my batteries, see what kind of corrosion I have, if any. Luckily I got a 2 battery setup here. I'm going to check hydraulic fluid, make sure all of that works. Some of this extra wiring that you see is the actual backup camera that I'm putting on here. I'm going to do a separate video on that, probably this afternoon. So I set this camera up on a non-moving part because as I'm backing into somebody's driveway, I put this, it's not tape, it's vinyl, it's cricket vinyl right here, and I put a piece on the dumpster right there that I can kind of back that up to. What ends up happening is, I back up to the dumpster, close, I put the bed up, and if I do need to back up some more, the middle part of my cylinder on my trailer actually lines up with that white spot on the dumpster, so it works out pretty good. I didn't have to wire that camera all the way down the bed and then back to get to the batteries. It's a wireless camera. It comes with 2 cameras. I'm going to put the other one in the back of the truck so I can line up my gooseneck a little easier. So yeah, back to maintenance. Probably the most important thing, well, they're all really important. In behind these caps, I have minor grease bearings. There's a grease fitting in there. Some are oil bath. Most of the trailers like this are gonna be grease. Let me show you what kind of grease I use. All right, I like this Lucas Red and Tacky for a couple of different reasons. So, number one, it's sticky. All right, I don't have to worry about that getting hot in the summertime and dripping on a customer's driveway. So I'm really, customer satisfaction is really only so much you can do. Get the dumpster there on time, pick it up on time, honor your price, and leave their area like it was never there. All right, whether that's little grease spots or marks in the driveway or whatever, I definitely don't want to do that. So I like that Red and Tacky because it doesn't leave that drop, especially if it gets hot. The sun's beating on the side of it. It's not going to melt it to a point where it's dripping on the driveway. That's the other reason that I do not, I don't grease my rails. I do need to come up with some way to do that. I'm not really sure. It's pretty rough sounding lifting up a dumpster, honestly. And then so here's some of the maintenance on the dumpsters themselves. All of these hinges, and your setup will be different, okay? All your hinges are gonna have these grease points also. Trying to get a good shot of that. All right, right there, right there. You wanna hit those with a little bit of grease. I don't go crazy with it because, the doors don't open and close all that much. Sometimes I'll just hit them with a little bit of penetrating oil to keep that pin, moving freely. That's pretty much it on the dumpsters. It's not a whole lot of maintenance. You just got to look them over and see what kind of scratches and dings and dents you have. If I really take care of my dumpsters. If I know that somebody's going to be loading them with a machine, I have a really big, heavy ratchet strap. And to keep my doors aligned, I will actually put that ratchet strap across the back to hold the door straight. I know a lot of people complain about that, especially on these light or medium duty dumpsters. It can spread this part right here. Okay, there's really no reinforcement there. So what you end up having is right here, you end up with this big gap where your doors won't seal because somebody's loaded that with a little excavator or a bobcat or something like that. So I just go off of these stake pockets, go around the back and kind of hold that all together. Really keeps me from having those problems. So, but yeah, there's some of the maintenance. I'll probably do some footage of me actually squirting some grease in this. You don't need a lot. You really don't. A couple of squirts once a week. I guess if you're only doing it once a year, Well, maybe you need some more. But yeah, just a couple of squirts every week. You know, pick a day, Saturday, Sunday, end of your day, Friday, something like that, to get some of this maintenance done. It really makes a huge difference. Things work a lot better, and you don't have to worry. Okay. All right. I'll probably add on to this video. I want to add some about some brakes, the wiring that goes to the brakes. Most people that have a brake issue, it's not actually the brakes. It's the wiring going to the back side of the brake actuator, really. So we'll get into that. I want to talk a lot about put my backup cameras on. I have a new remote coming, 4-function remote. Right now I have a wireless remote for my winch and a cabled remote for the bed. I just ordered, I think it's a Lodar, maybe, 4-function. So I should be able to do all that. Comes with the transmitter, receiver, all that stuff. So I'll do a video putting that in and how it works and what the range is and all that. As well as maybe I'm going to put the backup camera for the truck. I think I'm going to mount it maybe right up there so that I can look down onto my gooseneck hitch. And yes, this is not chained down. All I did was hook up to it so that I could dump this dumpster in my own driveway. So I went to the store and picked up some of the some parts for some of the stuff that we identified earlier. The first thing I'm going to fix is this broken clasp on this hook. This is pretty simple. I just popped it up so that it's no tension on that spring. I'm going to pull the old screw out. Hopefully the screws I bought are going to work. I think that they are. Okay. Oh yeah, like a champ. All right, now before I get that too far in there, I want to overcome that spring. Get out of there. It's a little hard to see with my big old thumbs on the way, isn't it? Okay, I got one side of the spring. Now, as you can see, hopefully I got to push the other side up in before I put that bolt in. So it'll go through both sides of the spring. Oh boy, that's a little tough. Okay, there we go. Comes out the other side like that. So I got a nice tight mount there. Let me grab the nut. And for this, I'm using a lock nut because you don't want to tighten this down so that it holds that clasp in the way. So like I was saying, you don't want to over tighten that so that it keeps the clasp from moving, because that's going to keep the spring from being able to close it. So use a lock nut. Keep checking that. How close am I? All right. But you want it snug enough to where this clasp isn't going to move side to side and then cause the same problem I had before. But you want to make sure that the spring can still spring it back. All right. It's perfect right there. All right. That's one fix done. Now, if you remember, I got a little bit of chafing right here. See if I can get that. A little bit of chafing right here on my hydraulic lines. So what I'm going to do is wrap basically just some 2-inch radiator hose. Let me show you how I'm going to do that. I'm going to wrap that around there so that it gives it a good place to chafe, if that's such a thing. I'll go ahead and cut off quite a bit of this because that's actually 2 pieces to that beam that it's chafing on. Okay. So now I just need to split that right down the middle, nice and careful. Probably be some safety guys on here telling me what I'm doing wrong. Okay, so now I can just hopefully slip that right over that hydraulic line. Hopefully my camera stays there. Then I'll just put a couple of zip ties to hold it. I'll get these on there good and tight so that doesn't move. And I'll probably put one right here in the middle. These are kind of thin zip ties. All right, let's grab something to cut those off with. So that's all there is to it. Just put that hose around whatever you find chafing for hydraulic hoses. A couple of zip ties to hold it there, and I'm gonna tell you it's gonna take a long time for that to chafe through that thick hose that I put on there. So now my hook is done. One of the hydraulic lines is done. I'll do the other one. I don't need to film that. But one thing I did want to talk about is the brake issues that I had talked about before. Okay, so your brakes on your trailer are electric brakes. You get this harness, it goes into the axle tube here, right there. You see how it comes up and it just ties together, okay? And all that these do is they come up and they daisy chain. All right, this one drops down here. I don't know, you can't see that, it goes in there, does the same thing, and then it's gonna go around the back to the other side. Okay, what you want to make sure of is that all of these, that none of them are chafing. This trailer manufacturer used like some heat shrink right here to where they tie in together. Okay, yeah, so all that looks pretty good to me. I'm gonna look at my springs, make sure I don't have any springs broken, any bolts loose, stuff like that. Okay, you really want to look at this stuff you know, once a week or so. I mean, it's not that hard to look at this stuff. Like this here, I have that harness. Sorry about that. I have that harness kind of hanging onto that leaf spring right there. So what I'll do is get a zip tie, get my phone to stand up here so you can see that. And I'm just gonna pull that up a little higher. Throw a zip tie on there. And hopefully it doesn't make me a liar. There we go. So now I've got some room between that leaf spring and that wiring harness. So that's the kind of maintenance I like to do weekly, if I can. I do the same thing on my truck. Not as in-depth, obviously, getting up underneath it and looking for chafe this or that, but I got to look at is my gooseneck ball, is that where it goes down into the bed, is that lubed enough? You're supposed to put some graphite stuff on there. How do my chains look on my trailer? How does the hook point look on the truck? I just have my gooseneck ball installed, or the hitch itself. So I'm gonna get up underneath there and check to make sure everything's tight and torqued and all of that. Let me show you what I carry around for tools. I am a diesel mechanic by trade. I got a lot of tools at the shop, but I carry some pretty basic stuff. I got some wire in there, my sockets, some black tape, a couple ratchets or whatever. This is a Milwaukee pack out setup. That's got metric and standard. It's in case I come across somebody that needs something done. I got a couple of screwdrivers, a flashlight, metric wrenches, some standard wrenches, hammer, little multimeter, little pry bar, and then some of this stuff like these machine screws that I just fixed that hook with. I'm gonna keep these in here because if I needed them once, I'm probably gonna need them again. And I'll put those zip ties in there and all of that. So for the wheels, just gonna pop this plug out. Get out of there. Make sure I don't have any crap on my grease gun. I don't want to put that in the wheel bearings. All right, I'm gonna push that in until it clicks a little bit. Give it a couple of pumps. Now, because I do this every week, I'm not looking for it to fill up and pump everything out. And, what some other people tell you to do, pump it until you can see the new stuff coming. But I'm not necessarily going to do that. So that's all I'm going to do on that. Take you over here to these pins and get that lined up good. Okay, so that pin right there, I'm gonna do the same thing. Just a couple of squirts, and this one you're actually gonna see the grease. Oh, if I can get it on there. Okay, you can actually see the new grease coming in around these points right here on the pin. And that's all there is to it, folks. So once again, thanks for watching.